Welcome everybody to the webinar on monetizing AI for your MSP business. I'm here with Joe Rojas today. Great seeing you again, Joe. How you been?
Great seeing you too. I've been pretty good.
Good. It's funny. The number of times I've jumped on calls and had somebody ask me, "Do you know Joe Rojas?" Just in the last couple months. So yes, apparently everybody knows Joe Rojas. You are a master connector. Well,
I like people. I've been accused of that.
yeah, that's great. Well, given the format is a bit different today, I figured we'd start out with a couple of introductions so people know who we are. And then, since Joe is the guest expert on today's subject matter, I'll ask some questions and then let him do most of the talking. And if at any point you want to share your screen to show us anything, Joe, feel free to go right ahead.
Sure.
Yeah, let's get started with some introductions here. So we're joined by Joe Rojas, who is the founder of Start, Grow, Manage. And I've also included a link to his calendar on this slide. That's what the QR code is, in case anyone is interested in scheduling a consultation. And Joe, feel free to share the link in the chat as well. So
Ooh.
Joe is a managed service provider advisor. He helps MSPs scale by helping them install a proven process-based system and is dedicated to helping MSP owners upgrade themselves from mere technicians to CEO. His favorite thing to do is to help them get their time back. Joe, anything else I should add to that before I introduce myself?
No, that's
Okay.
pretty good. I really love giving people their time back with their kids for vacations to spend with their spouse. That's like my absolute favorite thing. So you got it spot on.
Well, perfect, perfect. All right. And my name is David Coatney. I've also got a link to my calendar on this slide as well. I've been in digital marketing since 2005, started this business in 2014. And our business model is pretty simple and straightforward. We build websites for MSPs and we help them with their SEO and digital marketing. In addition, we can also host sites and implement website security as a service. With that said, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and then we'll go ahead and jump into today's topic here. So, Joe, clients are asking their IT professionals about AI, even if they don't really know why they're asking. Do you
Mhm.
think that is essentially the client looking to their managed service provider to be an advisor more so than just tech support?
Well, yes, right. And so there's let me think about this for a second because I want to take a multi-prong approach answer to your question, okay?
Okay.
So first, they are hearing, so if you're an MSP, your clients are hearing about AI constantly. They're hearing about it in the newspaper, they're hearing about it in the news, they're hearing about it everywhere. If you're not talking to them about it, somebody else will. And if that somebody else happens to be an MSP, they're going to take your business from them. So you should pay attention to that when they start asking about AI. So that's one thing, right? That's one prong. Middle prong is really if if you're still an agnostic MSP, if you haven't niched yet, the problem that you're going to have with that is that everybody that's asking about AI is asking for a different reason. And so you'll end up you'll get stuck in research hell, right? Where you're just trying to figure out, oh, how do I get this person's thing to work? And then somebody else asks you something completely different, and somebody else asks you completely different. So there's that, right? And I'll let the people that are listening to us decide which prong they want to go down. And then prong number three is AI is coming for your job as an MSP in the iteration where you're doing is patching support and what I like to refer to as the MSP janitorial work. I'm sorry, everybody, but if you're not specialized, then you're in the janitorial business. If you're agnostic as an MSP, then you're in the janitorial business. That's not a bad business to be in, but it will be, right? So as AI gets more and more advanced, it will start taking that job away. So what you want to do is you want to become a specialist. You want to move from MSP to BSP to business solutions provider over the next 3 or 4 years so that you can get in front of that. And then if you're in that space, you can really look at some specialized answers to the AI question. So I'm going to stop there because that was like three different answers to the same question, and then I'll let you
Sure.
kind of pick which direction we go in, David.
Well, you kind of alluded to verticals there and niching down as well, and so that kind of made me curious. What specific verticals do you see as potentially being the most receptive to AI-powered MSP solutions?
All of them right now. Everybody wants AI now.
Okay.
AI is what's hot. It's a new fad. It's a new thing. The problem is that you need it for different things, right?
Mhm.
So, perfect example. One of my clients focuses on manufacturers. That's all he does. He works with manufacturers. So he was able, rather than wait for his client to start asking him about AI, he went and said, "Hey, what are some of the problems that you have?" And then as they started rattling off problems, he said, well, we could fix that with automation. Okay, well, we could fix that with automation. All right, we could fix that with automation. And then they got to, well, we manufacture windows and we need like the warranty when people submit the warranty information, about 75% of the information is missing. It's like, whoa, wait a minute. That's a problem AI can solve because now you need pictures and you got to ask all this information. And that's a different kind of problem. That's a kind of problem that can't be fixed by automation because automation can't look at a picture and go, no, that's not the warranty sticker, or that window's not broken, or, you're not supposed to set your windows on fire, whatever it is, right? So then you can actually start to build an AI that gets smart, that starts really understanding what the warranty space for Windows is like, and can chat with the end user to get the rest of the warranty information. If the end user gets frustrated, you can create some parameters so that that chat gets upgraded to a human. That's the kind of solution that I'm talking about. So as you get really niche, you can start to figure out. Now, once he figures that out for that manufacturer, he can go to every other manufacturer he's working with. He'd say, "Hey, do you guys do warranties? Do you need a solution for warranties? I have a monthly recurring product that I can set you up with that does warranty automation for you, right? That's all AI driven, and now you can plug it into the system and get all the data that you need." Does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Follow-up question to that, and then we'll eventually dive into the monetization aspect after this. But what do you think that adds to their brand from a unique value proposition?
Say the question again.
Yeah, what do you think that adds in terms of unique value proposition to their overall brand?
What do I think what adds to
Being taking on more of that consultant role to be able to provide these AI solutions as opposed to just being your, standard up and down the street MSP that has a
well,
really.
if you're like I said, if you're the standard up and down MSP, your head is on the chopping block over the next few years because we're seeing that AI is taking a lot of those jobs. And
Sure,
it will continue to do that. It will
sure.
continue to do that. It may not be next year, it may not be the year after, it may take 5 years, it may take 6 years, but you remember what Will Smith looked like eating spaghetti 2 years ago, and I saw another video of him the other day, and it looks like Will Smith eating spaghetti, and that was 2 years ago, right? So
Mhm.
as AI moves into this space and solutions get deployed, the day to day is going to start to disappear. Now, will it make the work easier for MSPs? Yes. Will it make it easier for to get commoditized? Absolutely. You'll get more and more commoditized and you'll be competing more and more on price and less on value. And if you want to compete on value, you have to solve real business problems. So you
Sure.
have to move into the consultant space. AI gives you the opportunity to do that faster if you move into that space now.
Sure. So I think most people understand it, at least that AI can benefit their bottom line by reducing the time they spend on certain tasks, providing other benefits, like predictive analytics, automated threat detection. We get that. But I don't think a lot of MSPs are integrating it in a way that grows their top line and creates additional monthly revenue streams. So that's where we'll start. What is the opportunity out there that MSPs are missing?
Well, I'll tell you about an MSP that we interviewed recently. He's not our customer, but we interviewed him recently. And what he did was he has a customer that's a law firm, large law firm, about 15, well, not large, but decent size, about 15 lawyers, right? And he went to them and asked them, "Well, what are the big problems that you guys are having right now?" He says, "Dude, we're doing like each attorney is doing 5, 6 prenups a week. Like prenups are going out of style right now." And he said, "Oh, really?" So then he started looking around and he said, "Well, how long have you guys been writing prenups?" He said, 15 years. He said, "Do you guys have all of those?" "Yes, we do." So then what they did is they took the 15 years worth of prenups and they built a custom copilot that can write your prenups for you. And then he set up hosting and a whole host of other things that work with that tenant. He's charging $100 per lawyer per month
Wow.
for hosting this AI engine for them that helps them. It's an agent that's for each attorney, and it helps them design. And he's doing maintenance, upkeep, and all that stuff. But that's an extra $1,500 a month, right?
Hmm.
That he's able to charge that generates hundreds of thousands of dollars sometimes per month
Wow.
with a law firm. So they don't care if they have to pay $100 per end user, if it's going to give that end user that's charging $600 an hour,
Hmm.
if it's going to give them 2, 3 hours back that they can be client facing, why not? Why not pay $100 a user,
Sure, that makes perfect sense. That's a
right?
solution I wouldn't have even thought of. So yeah, there are a lot of innovative ways to incorporate this. Um, in terms of monetization models, though, what have you seen that works best for MSPs integrating AI? Are they using
Well,
it more as
it
an
depends on the solution, but go ahead, finish your question. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's okay. Yeah, I was just basically asking if you're seeing it more as like an upsell or as bundled services, usage-based pricing. What are you seeing most
It
often?
depends on the solution, right?
Makes sense.
If you're doing agents, you might want to do it as a monthly recurring. If you're doing a different, like a build, like where you're doing a build that build ends up doing a process, you might do a project fee where you just, you're building something inside of their environment that then they can pay you maintenance for, but you can really build it out. The great thing about building a solution like this is that you can have one client that you build it out for, and particularly if you're in a niche, you can then package it and sell it over and over again as monthly recurring revenue, right?
Sure,
So I don't know about the rest of you guys out there, but you know, I love MRR, right?
sure.
Yes,
Uh,
I absolutely would start with existing clients.
yeah, so let's
If
read the question first for those
yeah.
watching the replay. So somebody asked in the chat, would you start with existing clients or new clients? Do you recommend an AI readiness assessment? So great question.
So yes to the first part. I would start with existing clients, not with new clients, right? Because they know you already, they like you, they trust you, and you can ask deeper questions. I would probably not start with an AI readiness assessment. I would start with a strategic business review to understand what the business problems are, right? So in a strategic business review, you can do it one of two ways, right? So we actually have a course that we call the QBR course because nobody knows what an SBR is. So but the idea is that you're asking questions like, what are your strategic outcomes over the next year as an organization? And then you listen to those answers and see what the problems are that are embedded in that answer, right? The other question that you could ask is, well, what are you proud of over the last year? that your organization accomplished. And then that gives you an idea of the things that are important to them. And then you can ask them the next question, which is, um, what do you regret? And in those regrets, you're going to hear all the opportunities. In the regrets, you're going to hear all the things that they wish they had done differently. And you're going to hear where the opportunities to bring solutions. And not every solution is going to be AI. Some solutions are going to be a CRM. Some solutions are going to be an ERP. Some solutions are going to be AI. Some solutions are going to be automation, right? And most business problems can be fixed with automation, but MSPs do not spend enough time with their clients to understand what automations they need. So you want to exhaust automation first and then move to AI, right? Because to the end user, they can't tell the difference between AI and automation. What you need to do is solve a business problem. So starting with your existing clients gives you the freedom for whoever asked that, because I can't see who the attendee was, but whoever, like, so what happens when you start with your existing clients is it gives you the freedom to ask, because you've been with them for a long time, to ask deep questions, to really understand, well, why does that matter to you? Why is that important? How do you want it to work? What's getting in your way? How much is it costing you? Right? And then as you start to figure out the solutions to those problems, you can really then figure out how you're going to monetize it.
They mentioned AI readiness too, and I'm just wondering, how do you educate or position AI to clients who may be skeptical or just not informed?
Well, again, don't try to position AI. Find out what the business problems are.
Hmm.
If AI is a solution for one of their business problems, then you can position it, but you don't even have to call it AI.
Hmm.
You can say, look, what you need here is some automation, right? Because and if they're very AI aware, they're going to say, "Oh, you mean some AI?" Because you could say, "Well, maybe we have to look, but what you need is some automation. Let's look, let's do a deep dive on this problem and see if we understand it a little bit better." Right?
Sure.
The idea is to move from being a managed service provider to being a business advisor, a business consultant, a business solutions provider.
Where do you see the biggest gaps or inefficiencies in MSP operations that AI can solve today?
Well, that's a great question. So I think that there's two places. One is in answering phones,
Hmm.
right? Just answering the phones and taking people through the initial troubleshooting steps and doing it in a way where it creates a, like, I used to call Verizon all the time because they had good at one point a long time ago, for those of you who are on the phone and going, you can't remember when Verizon had good technical support on the phone. But a long time ago when you called, especially me, I used to call and get the level 3 guys. I would call and get escalated right away. That was great. Nowadays, when you call Verizon, it's a terrible experience. But if you go and you use the AI agent, it's an excellent experience.
Hmm.
You can tell it exactly what you want, and it actually does the thing for you, right? So there are and it's the same thing. When was the last time you got something from Amazon that you didn't deal with it with the AI? The AI answers all your questions, all the automations that they have and all that stuff. That's really what's dealing with it's a chat agent. It's almost never a person.
Sure, sure.
Right?
Yeah,
So those agents are built for really excellent customer service experience, right? So I think that there's an opportunity for MSPs to have those first layers of contact really be fully automated. And then if there's solutions, to get those solutions out to the people. But to do that, you have to have really great documentation. Because if you have great documentation, right, you can get a solution out to somebody before they even speak to a person. because the
Sure.
AI can look, see what the solution is, send it out, try this. If that doesn't work, try this. If that doesn't work, escalate, right?
Sure.
And so there's a lot of missed opportunity. Now, that becomes harder and harder and harder the broader you are. Because if you're not ultra niche, then when I say ultra niche, I mean ultra niche, not lawyers, but trust and estate lawyers, not doctors, but gastroenterologists. The
Mhm.
more niche you are, the better your answers will be.
And that's a great point because, most of the some of the most successful MSPs I've encountered are not necessarily ones that just focus on healthcare. They
Yeah.
focus on dentists, and they learn
Yes,
everything they can about that dental software and how it integrates into their workflow, and it helps them become an expert for that one specific field, and that develops credibility and trust as well.
absolutely.
So on the complete opposite side of the coin, we kind of talked about how relying on AI can help bridge some of these gaps. On the other side, I want to talk about over-reliance on AI, and I'll give an example in my own industry, just to provide a little bit of context for the question. So, in the web design space, AI can be utilized on the website for user intended functions like chatbots or custom quote tools. But it can also be used in ways that make the life of the marketer easier. And one of the most obvious tools is content generation. Nowadays, you can go to an AI tool, plug in a topic, give your prompts, and it'll generate pages of written content at a fraction of the time that it would take you to write the entire thing from scratch. The caveat, of course, is that's fine if you're using it as a starting point and then still going through and editing the content to personalize it. Ultimately, your content should be geared towards your users, and Google wants to see that that content is unique. And so in March of 2024, Google rolled out a significant algorithm update that was geared at combating the proliferation of AI generated content to give preference in the rankings to quality human generated content in its search results. And Google said that by targeting websites that relied on AI generated content, they aimed to elevate the overall quality of its search results. And then, of course, 2 months later, they rolled out AI snippets in typical Google contradictory fashion. But essentially, this update penalized websites that were overly reliant on AI generated content and rewarded sites with original content. And we didn't really see any impact on our end because so much of what we have out there is human generated. But
Yeah.
I know thousands of websites that got dropped from Google entirely, while many others slid in the rankings. It had a lot of SEOs in the industry panicking. And I understood the rationale behind that because if you're asking ChatGPT to write an article on network monitoring and you're just copying and pasting, it's going to sound like a thousand other articles from other MSPs. And so I use an example of over-reliance in the marketing space to transition back to the MSP space. And so as more MSPs are targeting, or not targeting is not the right word, but maybe integrating AI into what they do, not just to benefit and better serve their clients, but also to make their own lives easier. Are there any warnings or cautions they should consider about over-reliance on AI in the MSP space?
AI lies, AI hallucinates, AI makes up stuff. So you've gotta trust but verify.
Sure, right. That's a great way to put it. Yeah,
Right? You have to like, oh
absolutely.
yeah, this is great. Now let me go make sure that this is real, right? Like we
Mhm.
recently saw a large government organization pull out their report, and six of the case studies that were in their report were fake. You
Yeah.
know, some lawyers just got dinged to the tune of $31,000 for having fake trial
Mhm.
case law
Yeah.
in their summaries, right? So
Well,
yeah, the, the yes, there's a great opportunity but you have to be the responsible one in the room
sure.
because the client will go whole hog.
Hmm.
And so you have to, there's a couple of things, right? There's the risk of your data being at risk. You can't just throw your data into whatever new AI model just came out. I remember when ChatGPT first came out, it had a limitation of 2,500 words.
Hmm.
So a couple of people built chunkers where you could take your 20,000 word thing, throw it in there, and it would break it up into 2,500 word chunks for you. Only those chunkers, you didn't know who owned those, and you were putting proprietary data into
Sure.
somebody's server to get chunked to go into ChatGPT, and people were doing that like crazy.
Yeah.
And some of those websites weren't just like somebody who like put it together and threw it out there, and you didn't know where your data was going, and they got to keep your data, and there was no governance and no anything. And if you put proprietary IP there, there it went. Right. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
you have to be the responsible one that doesn't do that stupid stuff.
It takes discernment for sure.
Yeah.
Looks like we had another question here in the chat. Someone asks, as we look to monetize AI, what platforms do you envision will be building agents or GPTs on, specifically for automating client workflows in a way that we can manage and charge for as a service? Good question.
So Azure and Azure Web Apps using Copilot and Copilot Studio. I think that for now, that's where you want to stay because as far as I've seen, and this is me looking, so this is not any industry expert or anything else. But, ChatGPT released hey, no, we're not going to train on your data. Then 6 weeks later, yeah, we're going to train on your data. Then 2 weeks later, no, 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 we're not going to train on your data. Then 6 weeks later, yeah, yeah, we're going to train on your data. And right now, as it stands, is they're going to train on your data,
Hmm.
right? Copilot from the beginning said we're not going to train on your data, and they're not. And they created some firewalls to not train on your data, and they have stayed consistent throughout with that. Everybody else seems to be flip-flopping on whether they're going to train on your data or not. So for now, if it were me, for my dollar, if I'm going to build a solution, I'm going to do it in Azure. I'm going to do it in web apps because you have most of your clients' data in there anyway, right? And since your client's data is in there anyway, you can give access to limited access to AI to different parts of your Azure environment, and SharePoint and all that stuff to get the data that that agent is going to need to be able to provide support to your client's clients or to your client's staff.
Well, that question actually made a great transition because I know you're going to go over the product suite and a lot of these things in your training that's coming up. So you have a workshop coming up on June 17th, a week from today. What can attendees expect at this training?
So it's going to be training day. So we're going to spend a good part. We do training day 3 times a year. Usually we do. Right now, the themes seem to be security, AI, and automation. So the one in October will be on automation. This one coming up will be on AI. And what they can expect to see that day. So Microsoft is going to be there to talk a little bit about their licensing model and how the licensing model for Studio works, which has been kind of a confusing topic for folks. So we're going to get that really, really clear for people so they understand how that licensing model works. Then we have that. Remember that solution for warranties.
Hmm.
We're going to have the client there. We're going to have the engineer that designed the solution, and we're going to have the MSP there
Oh, very cool.
so that we're going to do a case study from end to end, from understanding the client problem all the way to the solution. And we're going to explain the solution and how it works and how it got built inside of the Azure environment so that you understand it along with the plugins for the website and everything else. So it's going to be like a real case study. And so we'll have that. And then we have food. So if you come in person, you're going to have amazing food. If you come online, it's going to be a hybrid event. So you can come in person, you can come online. So if you come online, you can follow along with everything that's happening. Uh, And so I think that that is, and so what you can expect is that you're going to learn how to integrate AI into your strategic business reviews, how to have that conversation. So we're going to do a two-part conversation on that. And you're going to see how an AI solution actually works for folks. And then we have a panel of AI experts that are we're doing a Q&A with on how to monetize AI.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
And we're gonna put up a link here pretty soon, but feel free to put that in the chat as well. Um, is there anything else that you want to add to the conversation?
I always want to add stuff to the conversation. But the most important thing for you to think about right now, if you're running an MSP, is what do I want to focus on? What is the problem that I want to solve, and who do I want to solve it for?
Mhm.
The clearer you get about the problem you solve and who you solve it for, the faster you grow. What we see is that MSPs that get clear about this add on average $1 million year over year because it's not hard when you understand the problem you solve. It's only hard when you don't.
We have another question in the chat here.
Mhm.
As an MSP, if we haven't used AI at all, where do I start so I can crawl, walk, run?
Come to training day,
Mhm.
first thing, right? So that's going to give
Good
you a
starting
really
point.
great idea. It's a good starting point. Um, I think where you may want to start first is get a license of Copilot Studio and start using it as your personal assistant, right? So that you understand how it works better. So if you start using it as your personal assistant, you can you can build that agent out, right? To help you schedule. Like, you can build an agent that when an email comes in, it reads the email, it looks to see if it's an email that needs scheduling, and it responds and it says, hey, this is, David's AI assistant. I see that you're trying to schedule an appointment. Here is David's availability. Which one would you like to? So you can build that agent in Copilot Studio that actually does that for you. You can ask it, when was the last time, Joe sent me an email? And it will tell you when the last time Joe sent you an email. So I would start using Copilot Studio and the agents in Copilot Studio, and then move from there to helping your clients do that, right? And say, hey, we're now adding this AI consulting services. It's going to be an extra $25 a month per user, but we're going to help you build out some agents to increase to add value to the bottom line. We'll do the first month for free so that you guys see what this looks like, but then we'll help you build out some agents, right? And then you can start building out agents. And if it gets a little bit more complex, you can charge a little bit more if you have to build an agent that's doing more than the basics. But that's where I would start. I would start with let me see what I can do myself to help me operate better on a day-to-day basis. And so that's some of the things that we're going to talk about during training.
Perfect. Well, great questions in the chat, guys. And I've put a slide up here on the screen that has a link to the training registration if you're interested in that. It's the QR code. I turn everything into QR codes these days, if you can't tell.
Well, I
But
love that.
I've also included both of our email addresses if anyone wants to reach out to us. And then this will, of course, be available in the replay, which we'll send out via email and then also post to YouTube. Joe, anything else you have to add?
One last thing for
Sure.
you folks. If you guys are attending training day is only $97, so they're not going to break the bank. If you want to come in person, it's going to be at Villanova University, which is a fantastic venue. We're going to have amazing food. It's going to be a great day. Starts at 11 in the morning, and it ends at around 6:37 p.m. There's going to be food. There's going to be dinner. Not dinner, but there's going to be like taco night type of deal.
Hmm.
And if you guys want to come, you can use the code Joe30 when you're checking out, and you get 30% off because you know David Coatney. So if you really want to attend, just go to the link that David put up, and then just use code Joe30 and that's going to get you 30% off. Or you could go to startgrowmanage.com and you'll see the right in the middle of the website it says, come join us at training day. So that is all I have.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, Joe, it's always great seeing you, and thank you so much for your time today. I hope the workshop goes well.
It was my pleasure and thanks for having me. It was really fun today.
Thanks again. Take care, guys.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.